Hi again, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. I am Dan Scott. It is great to have you with us. That is Stacey Johnson-Whitfield, which means we're going to be talking softball for the next little while here on this week's program. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You know, we've just kick-started season, so it's an exciting time.
I always love it when somebody like you comes in here and you're so nice and relaxed and stress-free and your blood pressure is low and everything is just copacetic. And maybe one day that'll happen, right?
Yeah, maybe one day. One of these conversations will start like that.
How you been?
Been good. Like I said, we started season off and, you know, just busy but an exciting time for us. So, you know, excited to get the rest of the season going.
Yeah, you opened the season this past weekend here with the Furman Invitational. Jog my memory. You're entering your fourth season here as the coach. Is this the first time you've had a regular season tournament or season opening tournament here on campus?
No, I think my first year as head coach, we also hosted the first weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think it was as nice weather as we had this past weekend.
Yeah,
but
it was gorgeous, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful softball weather.
Yeah, you're going to pay for it this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a moment. I know results-wise, things didn't go the way you wanted to with a win, just one win over the weekend. But to kind of, I don't know, start knocking the rust off and start figuring some things out as you're going to do ahead of conference play, what was your overall feeling about the weekend?
You know, we kind of came into this season talking to the team about we have to figure out who we are this year and what our identity will be. We have a very young team. We have 9 freshmen, which, you know, at one point this weekend, one of the games, we had 5 freshmen starting and 1 on the mound. So 6 total out of those 9 were playing at one time. So, you know, yes, we had fall and we learned a lot in the fall, but, you know, season is still season. There's nerves with that. There's things that you're going to figure out. So we told the team before we even started, the preseason is where we're going to figure that out this year, you know, and I told our team after our first game, and we didn't win the first game. I said, you know, every year I've been here as head coach, we've won that first game, and we have not gotten to the goal that we set at the end of the year. So, you know, 1 game out of the 53, 4 games out of the 53, we still have a lot of season left. I think this weekend we learned a lot from our incoming players. I think that, you know, they've learned a lot. We moved people around in every game, so it's just a lot going on.
4 games already, right?
Mm-hmm.
4 games, 9 freshmen on your roster, and remarkably, there's not a single gray hair in your head.
There are. I just have to get my hair done every 5 weeks. So.
See, now you didn't have to go and give the secrets away.
It's all right.
I'm trying to set you up and make you look. It's remarkable though how things can change and rosters can change and what you're. I mean, the ultimate goal is always the same, but what you're trying to accomplish early one season may not be what you're trying to accomplish early in the next season. If you've got that many young players experiencing college softball at the D1 level for the very first time, man, there's going to be a learning curve.
Oh, yeah. And especially nowadays within our world of the transfer portal and everything else, there's a lot of teams who fill those gaps with players who've had college experience, which the pace of the game is just a lot faster when you get to college. So those teams may have their bumps and lumps a little bit, but I feel like the unique thing about us is having so many freshmen come in and rely on the freshmen to learn the pace of the game so early. But you know, I think most importantly, the kids that we have brought in are just so willing to do whatever it takes for the team, do whatever it takes to learn that pace. You know, and they've really brought something to the table to this team that, you know, I've been really excited to be able to come and bring into Furman softball.
Well, before we maybe get into some of the youngsters' names, let's talk about some of your veteran players.
Okay.
Who's back? Who's going to be leading this team?
Well, first is some of our seniors. Obviously, we have Caitlin Goldwaite. She's one of our seniors. She's been an all SoCon pick. She plays outfield for us. She is somebody who, in a pressure situation, wants to be in the box for us, which I absolutely love. She's proven herself there. And with a very young outfield, it's nice to have somebody in the outfield that has played there for us for a couple of years on and off.
Right.
We have Kylie Perry. She's actually a senior this year. She's graduating early. She came in with some credits, so she's obviously been our starting first baseman. She was the All-SoCon Freshman of the Year her freshman year. She's a big bat for us. We'll be relying on her to kind of anchor the infield since we have 3 underclassmen, maybe 4 in our infield this year. So
they're everywhere, aren't they?
they are everywhere, I'm telling you. So she's going to be good for us. Then we have a couple of pitchers within our staff who've really taken a lot of innings. Emmy and Laura Lee, they threw very well this weekend. They've worked with me since they came in as freshmen, and they've grown so much, not just physically but mentally, as leaders and as people on the field to really help lead the way. So they're doing great. This weekend we had Sylvia Burrows, who's one of our juniors. She's just seeing the ball so well. I think she's hitting almost 600 right now already within 4 games. She is definitely somebody that I think throughout this year, if we could stay consistent with that, she's going to be hard to handle when we get to the SoCon and get through our season.
It's part of coaching, and I think we're losing a lot of that now because of the portal and all these other things that we talk about in every sport with every coach who comes through here on a weekly basis. But at its core, a lot of the coaching rewards, you want to win, you want the championships, but it's teaching and developing and watching players grow, right?
Oh, yeah. I absolutely love that part of what I do. And I loved it before I even got to Furman, as I was just like a high school coach and a pitching coach, and seeing some of my athletes just grow into these really strong-willed, young women who lead is my favorite thing. And seeing the confidence come from being in a sport of failure, and seeing them just persevere and keep pushing, and that by far is the most rewarding as a coach.
Do you feel like you're being robbed of that a little bit? Because of the portal, or have you been able to kind of fend the majority of that off here so far?
I mean, I think we've been able to fend majority of that off. I think
Good.
The people who have had to leave the program, if you want to say early for like grad, it's just because we didn't have their grad program.
Right.
So, and those people have been great for our program when they were here. They're supporting us even now. So I think that with us in our recruiting process, we stress loyalty within the program, and we stress that not just on their side but our side. We are loyal and determined to develop them, to make them better every year they're here, and we're not going to just pick from different places to try to fill that spot if they didn't do it within 1 year. And I think that has created not a really big turnover rate for us. I think within the last couple of years, it's only been a few, and it's been mostly like I said, we just don't have your grad, so they got to go somewhere else.
Stacey Johnson-Whitfield with us on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics, talking Furman softball. They opened up this past weekend with the Furman Invitational at Pepsi Stadium, and then all this is couched, weather permitting, supposed to be at Clemson tomorrow, Tuesday. We're recording, releasing this on Monday, and then this weekend playing in the Bash at the Borough down at Georgia Southern, another multi-team event. Weather is going to be the X factor in all of that. Let's talk about some of these freshmen that you're high on. Are there a handful or more who have a chance to make immediate impact?
I think majority of them will. We have 2 freshmen fighting for the shortstop position right now, and then we have 3 freshmen looking to possibly take over the third base position now. 2 positions that have been pretty set the past couple years. We also have a few freshmen looking to take over maybe the catcher position, outfield. So, like I said, it most likely you will always see at least four freshmen in our lineup, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. It's funny how college athletics has changed over, I don't know, 20, 25 years. We look at the accelerated change in the last handful of years, but I think even in the last generation, because David Cobb, were on the football broadcast, he'll still say from time to time, the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores. But around college athletics, where you're seeing so many more impact freshmen really in every sport, and it's got to be due to what they're doing amateur-wise prior to coming into a collegiate career. Like for softball, for instance, you tell me, what is USA softball? What are all these other opportunities they have to play outside of just high school do to prepare them collegiately?
I mean, obviously travel ball, that's where we go to watch them even play. But I think the amount of high-level softball that's really coming about through the travel organizations and that's part of our sport has really been able to prepare them to come in and be ready to try to make an impact right away. And with our freshman class, I think they've all come from very good organizations within the travel world and high school careers, but to get them to learn how to win. And that's something that we looked into recruiting too, is like we want kids who they know how to win, and don't like losing. And I always say this, I even say it to my own kids, you gotta hate losing more than you like winning. And I think that this group, specifically, that's something that they definitely live in. So that will help us get to where we need to go.
I've talked to a lot of baseball coaches over the years, and one of the things they talk about with travel ball, and even with some of the minor league baseball stuff that I do now, talking with some of the people involved there, they talk about kids who a lot of baseball travel ball, these showcases, and guys have their own personal coaches, so they're learning to throw hard, they're learning to hit the ball far, but the nuances of the game are being lost. That's a baseball complaint. Is that you see a similar thing on the softball side of things?
I mean, I think to me, travel ball, the competition part of travel ball is really great for them. But I think that something that is newer within the softball world is being able to go to hitting coaches, go to pitching coaches, get one-on-one time on defense, just throwing the ball at a field. All those things I think are actually starting to come even more popular. Is that practice is the bare minimum, and then what you do outside of practice is really going to get you going and get you prepared and raise you above the bar. So no, I think softball is kind of coming along with that, and I think all those little things are adding into the competitiveness of softball at this level too.
All that individual work is great, but you can't totally shun practice because you still have to learn. I mean, there's nothing more smooth to watch, whether you're talking softball or baseball, than a beautifully turned 6-4-3 or a 4-6-3, and those things don't happen by accident. That's all timing and practice and knowing where each other's going to be and how to deliver the ball. And I think that's some of the things that I hear that coaches worry some on the baseball side anyway. Some of that's being lost.
Yeah, I mean, we're really big on, at our practices at least, doing all those little things. You know, starting with the drill work, starting with footwork, and then running through the infield, outfield stuff, doing those small things. Because to us, especially this year, defensively, having such a young team defensively, those things need to be worked on any day we get a practice, which when you're in season, we're not going to get as many practices, but that's why we hounded them a good bit within the fall with that stuff. And I think that also adds to, every game this weekend, we've switched like a third baseman, a shortstop, because I agree. I think that the more you know each other and the more you get in a rhythm, the more those things start to happen. And our team hasn't necessarily, we haven't figured out who's where yet. So that smoothness will come eventually.
Of course, if all the pitchers were like Stacey Johnson, you just strike everybody out and not have to worry about it, right?
No. I mean,
no matter, again, baseball, softball, doesn't matter. It all starts on the mound.
Yeah.
So what does that look like?
Like I said, Emmy and Laura Lee have really, they're senior pitchers for us. They've done a great job so far. And we have more strikeouts per inning this year so far in 4 games than we've had in the past. We don't necessarily emphasize the strikeout. We just emphasize strikeout when we need it. And, with a young defense trying to help them and taking the pressure off each other at certain times and doing that, I think they did a very good job. Emmy has had some injury in the past that's kept her out of parts of the season. This year, we're trying to keep her as healthy as possible. So I'm hoping not to throw her as much in the preseason until we get to SoCon, because that's when we're really going to need her. Laura Lee has really worked on endurance. Obviously, she's thrown some really good games in the past for us. But we just need her to be able to last, 5 to 7 innings sometimes instead of just the 3 innings and then switching out. We have a sophomore who's really stepped up, Angelina Riccardi. She's taken some innings this weekend. She's learning. She's fiery. But I feel like we've seen improvement in her to take some good innings this year. And then we have a freshman, Lily O'Brien. She's from the state of Tennessee. She is somebody who jams people a good bit and relies on a rise ball that mimics that jamming pitch a lot. And she only got 1 inning this weekend, but I think our nerves got the best of us. I am very confident that she's going to be able to be thrown in here and there and really get some more innings out of her. So
Wouldn't be the first person that ever happened to.
Yeah,
would it?
no, definitely not. Nope.
Talking Furman softball with Stacey Johnson-Whitfield on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. Do you like your preseason schedule? I mean, we talked about the opening tournament that you just played. You're going, again, weather permitting, if you get to play Clemson tomorrow, and then this weekend you got Lipscomb, Harvard, and Georgia Southern down at Georgia Southern. And I'm looking through your schedule, looking at some of the other names that are on there. You got Northern Iowa is coming here. That's kind of an unusual one, but USC Upstate, they're a pretty good team. There's a little team down a little south of us, Alabama. You'll be going there to play. So in total, do you like the way your non-conference schedule shapes up?
I do. Actually, I think this is probably my favorite schedule that we've been able to put together so far. We've really tried to pack in a lot of home tournaments, a lot of home games. I think we played more home games this year than ever when I've been here in a season. But I think that it's a good balance of some teams that are probably even-keeled with us that could go either way. Some challenging teams. Obviously, Alabama is one of those. Clemson is another. But we only have 4 Power 4 games this year, which I think was a necessary balance for the young part of our team. And then by the time we get into SoCon, we're not really playing midweek games anymore. We did that on purpose, so we get more practice time through the SoCon series where we can really work on things, feel confident by the time we get to the weekend.
Well, if you were upset that you missed the Furman Invitational to open the season, don't worry, because the Furman Classic is coming up on the 21st and 22nd. We'll talk about that a little bit. They'll actually be back at home on the 18th for a pair of doubleheaders on the 18th against. It says 18th. Oh no, it's a 1-day. 2 games against Canisius. The way I read it initially, it looked like you were playing 4 games in 2 days.
No.
But a Tuesday doubleheader with Canisius the next time you'll be back. So when we get to the SoCon, you open SoCon play with Wofford on the road on March 22nd. What does the league look like?
I think the league is going to be a little bit of a toss-up. I think there's some teams that are going to sneak their way up there, and they're always hard series, which are like Mercer. Wofford's really come in strong the past couple years, or past year. But, we took the series from them last year. UNCG and UTC, I feel like, are the two that at the top of that right now. But I really, truly believe that if we can figure out what we are capable of and what we look like by the time we get to SoCon, we're going to surprise some people with how tough it's going to be to take a series from us. And really, by the time we get to the tournament, which is really what matters, we're going to be battling. So
you have, in your first 3 seasons, the first one you were the interim coach, and then the last 2, you've gotten into the tournament and thrown a scare into some people. I guess it's getting time to do a little more than scare people, right?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. And I know a lot of people with a young team are like, oh, this is a rebuilding year. But to me, I feel like it's not a rebuilding year. I just think that we're looking at this season a little differently from the beginning to the end, and the end is what's most important. So,
as we get ready to wrap it up, again, we're recording this and releasing it shortly after noon on Monday. You're scheduled to play at Clemson on Tuesday, which I guess in one sense you're hoping that it doesn't rain because you've got a 1-game winning streak going against Clemson at their place. Knocked them off last year. But with the weather forecast being what it is, when do you expect a decision to be made on that?
Actually, probably sometime this afternoon. Okay. We're hoping sooner than later, but we'll find out. It doesn't look so good, so.
Yeah, and then, again, weather permitting, Friday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Georgia Southern, right?
Yes. Okay.
And then return here to take on Canisius on February the 18th, a doubleheader starting at 4 o'clock at Pepsi Stadium. And then the Furman Classic, Austin Peay, Holy Cross, Morehead State, and Northern Iowa all coming in for that weekend. So you get 4 games over 3 days there. And I was talking to Jordan Caskey. He said he scored 14 games on this past weekend. How many games that were played?
Yeah, there was a lot. We had more teams in this weekend. We started Thursday night, which we've never done before. So, but it was really good to see a lot of really good softball. And there was a lot of people out. The weather was beautiful. We love seeing people come to Pepsi Stadium. So,
all right, finish this sentence and we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
This season will be a success if?
Oh, gosh. This season will be a success if our team can stay strong through the tough times. I think that's probably the truest statement I could say in the moment.
I think you could say that about a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Couldn't you? Because not every team can do that.
No.
They say that adversity doesn't build character. Adversity reveals character.
Very true.
So we'll find out. It is always good to catch up with you.
Yeah, ditto. I love being back.
Looking forward to seeing how the season plays out. If you don't get to play Clemson before we wrap it up because of the rain, it looks like you're not going to. Is that a game that you'll look to reschedule for later?
Yeah, we already discussed what day that would be if it happens.
Okay, so that's in the works.
Yes.
So we would say just be watching Furman social media and FurmanPaladins.com for some announcements perhaps coming up.
Yes.
Best way to handle that?
Yep.
All right, good stuff. Well, listen. Go start beating people.
We will.
No
pressure.
Plan on it. No pressure.
No.
That is Stacey Johnson-Whitfield. That has been this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. Next week, we'll talk some women's golf with Jeff Hull. And until then, for Stacey, I'm Dan Scott. God bless you, and so long, everybody.